It's been a long, great 2 weeks. We've had a really awesome showcase of films, and now we have made it to our last day. Can you believe it? So I just want to go ahead and, congratulate the Gary Film Festival on making it to their 10th year. They've been celebrating a wonderful 10 years of great Black excellence and Black film and art. And I want to go ahead and thank our sponsors and our partners. We're going to start with Array, the Legacy Foundation, the Knight Foundation, the Urban League of Northwest Indiana, the James Wallace Indiana University, Northwest Office of Diversity, Equity, and Minority Affairs, Jay's Breakfast Club, CWIT, Quad J Creative Group, Trainer Digital Strategies, the City of Gary, our various filmmakers, panelists, and our audience. And then we also want to thank our staff, Karen Toring, Walter Jones, Tony Simpson, Ludine Kilgore, Sade Holt, Sydney Chapman, Lester Lowe, Winter Ogel, me, Tiffany Arnold, our media public relations and technical specialist, Megan Trainer, James Ward, and Ventress Jackson. And don't forget, we also have merch that is available. It is available at our store, GaryBlackFilmFestival.com. Make sure you get it. We got hats, we got hoodies, we got shirts, we got it all. So make sure you get that. So first off, I want to thank everybody for making time out today and, making it so we can talk about your wonderful films. We're going to be talking about Wow. It is a film by Justice Gamble, who is right there. I don't know, you're in my lower left, right, for me. And then we also have Samuel Marin and Troy Pierre here to talk to us about Young and Creative, a short documentary film. And then we have Aisha Adu, who is here to talk to us about Little Men. So I'm gonna start off today with Samuel Marin and Troy Pierre. We're gonna talk about Young and Creative. So can you tell us a little bit about what your background in terms of New Orleans and what that has on the crafting of your film?
Yeah, sure. First of all, hi, I'm Sam Marine. It's very nice to meet you all. I guess it's was a great opportunity for me, coming from France to study in Louisiana and in New Orleans. Just having an amazing culture here, that is so diverse. And that's really what I wanted to include in my films in general, not just this one, but just the diversity of people from all around the world and so many different cultures. So I think it means a lot, and it's so important to show that, and that's kind of what I was going for in this film.
Mm-hmm. And I saw some little clips. It was of some people dancing. Can you tell us what was that about and why you decided to put that in there?
Yeah, sure. I just wanna say also the footage is entirely from Troy. So I guess Troy, you can talk more about it.
Yeah. So well, I'm Troy Pierre II. Just to introduce myself, I'm also a film major, so it was definitely interesting being on the opposite side of the camera for once. Because when he initially asked me to be a part of it, I was thinking he needed some extra hands on set. So I was like, okay, cool. Mm-hmm. And then it was like, no, I need you to sit in the chair in front of the light. I was like, oh, okay. But in general, he just asked me to send some footage that I had at the time of different, because currently outside of film, I'm just a videographer, and I kind of go to events and do music videos, that sort of thing. So I just sent a good portion of my work and footage just for him to include, in addition to some of the things that I was saying or that he asked. He kind of pulled me to say, if that makes sense.
I gotta say also, you have the perfect voice for that. It was just so, as a creative person, it was really energizing, and I don't know, you just got a voice for that. I was like, wow. So to me, I feel like there were some themes. You were talking about trusting yourself. We're just gonna get into it. You were talking about trusting yourself. And then you talked about the switch when you decide to trust yourself and what comes of that. Can you talk about when that happens and what is the product of that when you start trusting yourself?
I mean, I guess the product of trusting yourself is literally, I don't want to say not caring anymore, but it's just kind of Okay, the best way for me to describe it is like freshman year we had like intro to digital, just like filmmaking. It's just like a general course, like an intro to just filmmaking in general. And we had to make like a mini, what is it called, a 3-2-1 project. So 3 pages, 2 characters, 1 location. And so a good portion of the people who had been in the class had went to some sort of creative like high school or something dealing with film. This was my first time like ever dealing with film once I kind of got into college outside of like just loving to watch movies. And so obviously being that that would be my first like short film, you want everything to like be perfect or be the best that it could potentially be. And it ultimately was kind of bad, just to kind of sum it up. But I guess what trusting yourself kind of falls in line with that. You trust, what's the best way? You trust yourself through whatever the process is. So even if you end up kind of getting a film that comes out okay, it's like you trusted yourself enough to literally see it from point A to point Z. And you're gonna kind of take those lessons just to kind of implement in the next project. And I don't know, just in general, just to, I guess, throw this out there as well. My freshman year, outside of like school projects, I only did probably like one video, like project personally on myself, just because I didn't fully trust like my abilities to like capture whatever it is people needed me to capture or wanted me to capture. And once I kind of got over, well, I mean, I'm still getting over that. I'm only 21, still figuring all that out. But
Right.
it makes it, just to sum it up, because I'm kind of rambling, trusting yourself makes it easier to find the beauty in some of the mistakes you're gonna make, because you're gonna make them regardless. It's just a matter of understanding that the mistake doesn't necessarily make you or make the project. And as long as there's like a steady kind of progression or some kind of growth, you kind of just trust that whatever artist that you kind of know is inside, you'll kind of get there just through creation, even if it isn't on like this next piece that you create, if that makes sense.
Right. So it's recognizing that those failures are bringing you to a path where you find who you are or your creative lens.
Yeah, building blocks, basically.
So Samuel, what made you decide to choose this theme? Was it something that Troy was saying and you were like, okay, this is what I want to pick for this? This has something to it. I want to focus on this.
So that was a time where I was like basically like interviewing a lot of different people, because I was working on a documentary series that was like really around, kind of like, self-growth and development and all that. And, I just knew that Troy would just be a great fit because, I knew he had this great story, and because he's just overall a great artist and he's really involved on campus. So I kind of, wanted to know how he got into filmmaking and, what was his inspirations. And when I interviewed him over maybe half an hour, and it was like very, very difficult when I edited the film to like kind of like, pick moments, because like the whole 30-minute was great, but I kind of wanted to have like a very short, fast cut type film. So when I heard this part of it, when he was saying, oh, you got to trust yourself, and basically the only way you're going to get better is by creating, that really speak to me too, because coming to Loyola a little bit like Troy, I had to do this film like freshman year, and I literally had no idea what film was. Like I never used a camera before, and I was just very passionate. And my first film was probably not good at all, and it really speak to me. And when I heard the recording and when I heard it talking, I could, like, I was like, wow, this is like inspiring. So it inspired me first, and then I was like, this is something that artists and people in general need to hear. So I really hope that it can help a lot of people around who can hear his message.
Right. Okay. So yeah, I want to branch the question into Aisha and Justice. What do you think? Have you had to go on this journey of trusting yourself in your film creation, and where has that brought you today?
Yeah, I actually have a magnet, a beautiful magnet on my refrigerator that is a kind of an ethereal image, and it says "Trust yourself." And this year, for the last 8 months, I've been going on a trust yourself journey, and I felt like I wasn't able to trust anyone else unless I trusted myself first, which would make it possible to trust the situation and the processes that happen in your life and accepting them as they are versus trying to manipulate them into something that they're not.
Right.
And so if you can trust yourself, and you'll be able to trust the process, you'll be able to trust people you love and care about. And it comes back to you again, where you're like, oh, I made this decision to trust myself and it's paying off. You know, like I'm getting the love I need, or I'm getting the recognition that I'd like to have, or I'm just getting a peace of mind. And that peace of mind gives me the opportunity to come up with new ideas that I'm passionate about and create them and have the confidence that I can trust myself to actually create the work. So it's like an infinite cycle of once you begin the process of trusting yourself, it's an infinite cycle that always involves you, but it also teaches you not to center yourself in other people's drama, but center yourself in your own life. So that's kind of the journey I've been on for the last 8 months. I literally just turned 50 like 3 weeks ago.
And you could not even tell.
Thank
you. Look great.
Thank you. So it's nice to have gotten this far in life and to finally feel that I can trust myself and that I'm good at trusting myself. So that's it.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's all.
No, I was going to say, because one of my questions was, do you think that youth is tied to self-doubt or not trusting yourself? But you were just saying that, coming up to 50, you're still working on this. So it's obviously a process that, you have to go throughout your life, even as, as a creative person. So.
Yeah, I feel like I was very, like I had a year of film school. I'm self-taught. And I made a short film in 2000 and then took a break because it was really awful and I was hurt and bruised. My ego was bruised. I was 30 at the time. And then all of a sudden one day I sat down to write Little Men. It took me 11 months to write it. And I just on a whim, I applied for a grant and got it. It was a $10,000 grant. And of course, the first thing that comes to my mind was, oh shit, I have to make a movie now. And so, I was just like, what am I going to do? I still need another $10,000. And I'm just like, oh, you're going to raise that through GoFundMe. And I was like, no, you're not. And then I was like, just do it, just see what happens. And so I raised all together with the grant was $24,000. And I hadn't made a film in 19 years, but people were still like, they trusted me, which meant I had to trust me because I had to give them something for their $1,000 or $250 or $5 or $2.
Right.
And it's like I had a responsibility to the grant. I had to write senators to thank them for making the art program available. And then I had a responsibility to my donors and my crew and my actors. So it's just like, it's, like learning how to edit. I didn't know how to edit when I edited my film. I had to teach myself Final Cut Pro. So I had to trust myself again. And I didn't know how to do sound design. So I had to teach myself, which meant a lot of Googling YouTube apps or YouTube videos and teach myself and trust myself that you have to get the sound good because if you don't, it's going to sound awful. So it's like trusting yourself. Like I had to keep trusting myself for the last 3 years. And it really instilled a sense of confidence that in the last 8 months, I really appreciate to have. So like youth, it's great if you can start young. Like I was very passionate when I came to Minneapolis, but I wouldn't give yourself a hard time if you don't get it right the first time. There's so many times to get it right. And every time is about getting it right, not being right, but getting it right. Whatever you messed up the last film gives you an opportunity to correct it in the next film. And you're going to mess up on the next film, and that'll give you another opportunity to get it right. But I wouldn't shut down because you didn't get it right the first time. Like I shut down for like 18 years and loss of time that I can never get back, so I wouldn't shut down. I would just keep going, pick yourself up, dust yourself off and keep going. So
wow. That's excellent. So I'm gonna bring the question to Justice. What are your opinions on trusting yourself, self-doubt, and what's that brought you to today?
Well, the only thing I could really say is if you speak your own truth, I think that just goes a long way, regardless of trust or anything, because everybody has their own truth. And if you can find that truth and you can put it out there, Um, I think it's fine.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, so I'm going to continue with Samuel and Troy. I think we covered everything I had for you two. So actually, we're going to move on to Justice, back to Justice. We're going to talk a little bit more about WOW. One of the big things for me that impacted me with your film was the nature in that film. What was your decision on choosing that location? Was it, a symbol in the movie? Was it like a conscious decision, or was it just like, I want to shoot here, it doesn't matter?
It was a decision to shoot a love story in a different place. I feel like a lot of times when I see Black love stories, they're kind of always in the same place, but we're all over. We have so many different experiences, and from person to person, city to city, where you're at in Gary, where I'm at in LA, to wherever. And it's different. And I want to kind of show, I thought the environment brought out the beauty too. It added to the beauty of the people. So, but that was in my mind to start off with.
So where exactly was that shot at?
It was a ranch. I rented out a couple ranches out in Malibu, and I had a whole bunch of farm animals. I had a whole bunch of different things going on. I had the kids playing with the horses, but it was a Malibu out in ranch. It was a ranch out in Malibu.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I gotta say that was one of the things that hit me first when I was watching the film. I had to pause it because honestly, I was getting emotional. Seeing, Black kids enjoying themselves in nature is so rare. I was like, wow. It was just like, seeing that freedom in them, being able to explore their environment. I really enjoyed that.
Thank you.
So, yeah, and I feel like, just seeing, like you said, a Black couple in nature, it's rare. You don't see us outside. It's like illegal. So can you talk about your theme of young love and the concept of that being true love? I feel like people don't necessarily see young love at a young age being true love.
I think young love is so true because it's so innocent. Nothing has messed up the minds of a young person yet. They don't see what all of us see. They don't see money. They don't see where you're from. They see you. They see how you guys make each other feel. And it's not just even with eyes, it comes from here too. And I remember when I was young, I saw a girl. My father is a pastor. He's a Black pastor. I saw a girl in the choir singing, and I fell in love. And to this day, you cannot tell me any different. And I believe, it happens. Sometimes there's a connection that you get. And yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you could see it happen with Chance, because immediately when he saw Michelle, he was like, wow. It was that moment.
Yeah. It's great too, because the kids, both of their names are Riley, Mr. Riley, Miss Riley. Mm-hmm. And they just connected. It was amazing how much they connected. And
yeah, you could see that.
Yeah, it was really, really cool. I would just keep the camera on while they were just talking. And it was amazing.
So what was your choice or what was part of the decision in choosing them too? When you was it a lot? Oh, I'm sorry.
I had I had something in my mind, but I probably had about 500 people submit for each role, and I went through all the tapes, and they just stood out. Not just the acting, they were just a vibe that they had, and I was praying, I was hoping, because I did everything online. I was hoping when I brought them together, it would mix, and thank you, God, it did.
Yeah, you could definitely see, like you were saying, it was like the scenes before, they had the conversation where she was like, do you love me? Before that conversation, they were just playing together. I was like, it reminded me of my own childhood, the way they were just playing with each other. You could see the chemistry between these two little kids. I was like,
Yeah.
man,
Yeah.
it was an awesome casting
Uh,
for real. I was like,
Thank you.
these kids are really mature. They know what they're doing for
Yeah.
real.
Oh.
Yeah. So I'm gonna move on to Little Men with Aisha. So I want to ask you, I really enjoyed your two leads in your film. So what was part of the decision in choosing those two?
I did not get 500 people per role. I got 5 people per role because Minneapolis is really small. And so I took the 2 that were the best and kind of hoped that there was chemistry between them as well.
Mm-hmm.
And all the people, all the kids that auditioned, they were really wonderful. And so I cast them as extras in the film in the gym scene.
Mm-hmm.
And but Brendan, who plays Andre with the glasses, and TJ, who plays Marcus with kind of the high top, they got along really well. They rehearsed on their own. They would stay the night over the weekends and rehearse on their own. And then we would rehearse together, do a table read. And they just, during their auditions, like Brendan just, blew me away with how serious and responsible he was as an 11-year-old, because they're both like 10 and 11 respectively. And he was just so serious, and not serious as a heart attack, but he like knew his worth, and he was not anxious, but energetic and excited to do something that he didn't really ever do before. Like he'd been in a couple of plays, but he'd been in, he'd be like an extra or something, like an extra tree or something in Frosty the Snowman or whatever, and very little speaking lines. And TJ, had never been in a film before. He was a print model and hadn't had a lot of experience in front of the camera as a print model, but he worked it in that audition. I auditioned him for almost an hour, and he just brought it. Like he had a broken collarbone from a ski accident, so his arm was in a sling, and he just did it. I just said, okay, try it again in a different way. And then I would explain, and he took direction very easily. And so did Brendan. And then it was just a matter of, having him be comfortable saying the N word, because he says it quite often in the film. And he was very comfortable with it, because he knew it was a character he was playing. And his mom would tell me, we were driving home from the audition, and he said he could really connect to Marcus. Like he just felt Marcus. And you could tell that when he was auditioning for Marcus, that he just felt he was this character. And they both recently got nominated for Best Actor and Best Supporting Actor with the Black Continental Independent Movie Awards. They got nominated for that.
They definitely deserve it. Because that was awesome, for real. They did awesome.
There is a scene in the gym where they're both confronting each other about the lie that Marcus tells everyone. And, TJ was kind of having a hard time. There was some stuff going on in the background, and he was having a hard time adjusting and trying to adjust to personal life plus professional life. And so he kind of like maybe got on Brendan's nerves a little bit. And so that anger that comes out of Brendan is actually really legit. Like he actually took that anger and channeled it into his character, because he's supposed to be upset anyway. So when he basically screams at him, it's kind of like, it's real. It's like a real thing. There was growing frustration. They're 10 and 11, and they don't really know each other. So they don't know each other's boundaries. And just like kids, you're going to like, just be kind of like, I don't want to talk to you today, especially when you're working 6 days in a row at like 8 hours a piece, and they're in every scene in the film pretty much. And so, it's just when you're younger like that, you don't have the bandwidth you have at like 50 or 21, it's something that you develop. And so that scene for me personally, when I watch it, every time I watch it, it transcends off the screen and takes it to another emotional place. Like it ups the emotional ante. And I felt like, you really did get the right kids for this, because even in the calmer scenes when they're kind of still spatting a little bit as characters, or trying to get along as characters, they work. The chemistry is right there, you know. And so it was a good call, and they were awesome, and they were professional. They never complained when we were out in negative 25-degree weather. Is the railroad scene that we're in,
Really?
and we shot it at like 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning. We were on set. And my AD texts me and he's like, Aisha, it's going to be like negative 25 degrees outside. I'm really concerned. And I was like, we got to shoot it. Like, if we don't shoot it, we literally will lose all this snow. It was the first week of April. It was the day after Thanksgiving or day after Easter. And I was like, we just have to bundle them up. We've got to, you know, put gloves on them, give them 20 pairs of like long johns, and we just got to shoot it, you know. And it's like, all right, cool. So we like get to the set and it is freezing, but they have their attitudes were like, okay, we can do this. Let's do it. Like, they never complained about it. They sat in the car and warmed up while we figured out our shots, and brought them out. And it doesn't look like they're even breaking a sweat, you know. And I think the only time TJ had a slight complaint was that the fake blood to his wrist and his sleeve were sticking to him. He's like, can we please just be done? I was like, honey, we just need to get you to get it right. And then like one more shot, we can do it. If you can do it in the shot, we'll be done. And he did it. So it was just like, that was the only thing he complained about. It was the last scene he was in for the whole shoot. And that was it. So they survived 25-degree weather, negative 25-degree weather. They survived, you know, craft service. They you know, survived all of this stuff. And they turned out really awesome performances. So I'm very proud of them.
Yeah, you could definitely see their mentality shining through, you know, in those roles. Because if they had showed up, I had a question for them, and I was going to ask, what did they learn from these roles? Because you could tell that they understood something about each one of these characters. They understood that there was something underlying, something important in the role. Because I could tell by the way that I think it was Brendan, and the way he was, you know, in that scene where they were in the locker and the gym, and they were yelling back and forth. That scene resonated with me as well. And I was like, they have something with this. They know what they were, you know, they knew something. They knew what they were doing. So what I wanted to ask you was generally relating to the theme. What, can you talk about their two different backgrounds, the two characters, and what the difference is between growing up in a family surrounded by love and one surrounded by hate, and what that does to your perspective as a kid?
Well, a lot of that, like some of the dialogue that Marcus hears in the living room with his mother, where she's just putting him down, those lines, some of those lines were extracted from dialogue my father actually said to me. And so I took it and channeled it and put it inside the scene, and it worked beautifully because you were able to see that, you know, despite what he's being told, he still has a sense of autonomy. And even if it's autonomy that's based on unpredictable attitudes and not really seeing the bigger picture, but just seeing the immediate wants and the immediate action urges, he still persevered anyway and just kept going at it. And then Andre, to be surrounded by, you know, a warm and loving mother, you know, his perspective is different. You know, he has faith in God. He has, you know, faith in himself. He has faith in his mother. You know, he has faith in his father, even though at the beginning of the film, you know, you discover that his dad was supposed to connect with him over the weekend and he was unable to. But as sad as he is, he still has faith in him enough to have a dream about him after the situation happens on the street. And so I wanted to create two characters that were very similar, but just enough dissimilar in certain areas where they had to have a conflict of interest with each other. You know, and my idea was that the only reason why they were friends to begin with, if you can call it that, is because they go to school together every morning and they live in the same building. And so I think, like, when you get to the railroad track, after they have their little argument on the railroad track, you start to ask the question, like, why are they even friends? You know, like they're already fighting. What's going to happen for the rest of the movie? And it was just like, you know, pay attention and hang out, because we all have problems with our friends. And I wanted to create something that was realistic like that. So, you know, I had a hard time casting Marcus's mother. Marcus's mother is a white woman who uses the N-word. And I literally had one actress who just couldn't do it. Just couldn't do it. She couldn't say it. And the actress that I ended up choosing knew and understood the role and understood her relationship to Marcus. And so, yeah, it was designing the families through casting was an interesting experience. So I had to create through casting, I guess, the families in a way that was real. You know, whether it was a toxic family or a loving family, it needed to be designed in a way that was real.
Okay. Unfortunately, we're coming up to our 30 minutes, and I did have more questions for all of you, but I don't think I'll be able to get them out for you. But I just want to thank you all for showing up and showing out and, you know, talking with me about your films. I want to talk to everybody here. Make sure that you go see Wow by Justice Gamble, a beautiful Black love story. See Little Men by Aisha Adu, a beautiful coming of age story. And then Young and Creative by Samuel Marin featuring Troy Pierre. These films are still available to watch, and make sure you go see our films that are coming on later today. We have 3 more films, and then we have our closing night, which is starting at 6 p.m. We're gonna have some comedy and we're gonna have a DJ set. So make sure you're here for that. And then, yeah, we just wanna say one more thank you, and you guys have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
I
Thank you so much.
Thank you.